Welcome to the book, Harlots. Tonight, we're going to be reviewing Lover Enshrined. It's Grandpa Fury's book. I'm Eliza Mann.
I'm AJ Norris.
And I'm Sage Spelling.
All right. Y'all don't even know the stuff we go through. All right, so
Nobody knows where we're laughing.
Let me read the backstory, and then we'll jump right into it, because it was a lot in this book, and, you know, we're dying to get to it. So, fiercely loyal to the Black Dagger Brotherhood, Fury has sacrificed himself for the good of the race, becoming the male responsible for keeping the Brotherhood's bloodlines alive. As Primali of the Chosen, he is obligated to father the sons and daughters who will ensure that the traditions of the race survive, and that there are warriors to fight those who want all the vampires extinguished. As his first mate, the chosen Cormia wants to win not only his body, but his heart for herself. She is drawn to the noble responsibility behind the emotionally scarred male. But Fury has never allowed himself to know pleasure or joy. As the war with the lessening society grows grim, tragedy looms over the Brotherhood's mansion, and Fury must decide between duty and love. All right, girls, let's jump into it. So first up, the Omega. The Omega opens with this book, and I don't even remember that happening. But what I noticed this time was that Fury and the Omega have some similar backstories. So the Omega has some challenges with his perfect sister and his dad, not seeing him for who he was and all his dark glory. And then the same thing with Fury. After Z was taken, he kind of felt emotionally abandoned, and it kind of left him like his entire life irrevocably changed based on the way they saw him. I hadn't noticed that before. Had you guys noticed that, or was that just me being late?
I mean, I think it's just more of like a theme, you know, of those stories. You know, it's something that Sage had brought up, but I'm just going to repeat it because I can't remember what I said. So.
She stole your lines.
It's okay. I got more.
All right.
But it was just like, you know, I mean, I think that most of the character, not all of them, but most of the characters in this, you know, in this series have issues with, you know, their childhood or at least some sort of trauma that they experienced. So I don't know. I think it's more of a theme than it is a parallel between Omega and Fury.
Yeah, I get that. What about you, Sage?
I agree about the characters within this whole series. Everybody has shitty parents. Nobody had nice parents. And I guess that's the best characters, right? The ones that have been tortured by their parents.
Yeah.
But besides that, in this particular book, I do see the correlation between the Omega and Fury. But I also, after you mentioned that, I realized that Quinn has the same correlation as well. You know, it's not only like the being treated like crap by the parents, but it's also the sibling rivalry. And the one sibling being so if you take the Omega and the Scribe Virgin, you have the Scribe Virgin is, you know, holier than thou. She's perfection. She has the ability to create not human life, but life. And on the other hand, you know, he's stuck in Dunnan. And, you know, so you have that. And then, you know, so there's that rivalry between him and his sister. And then the same thing, I think, with, you know, Fury. I don't know, Fury is not really rivalry with his brother, but it's almost like his parents idolized Zadis and saw him as,
Just
like
a
nobody.
reminder of their loss.
Yeah, it's just a reminder what they lost. So he just felt like a nobody. So he never felt good enough. He felt he was cursed. He was the curse on their family, right? And then with Quinn, it's the same thing. He was a defective one, and he wasn't good enough. And you know where his brother was, right? So I can totally see that correlation between all those characters, especially in this particular book.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think I you know, I appreciated you know, all of their backstories and how difficult it was with their parents. And I think I'd never like given the Omega a pass, even though it was obviously always in the book. I just had not paid attention to it. So it was just like shocking when I looked at it, and it was like, whoa, this is a common thing. Bless his heart. We still don't like the Omega by any stretch of the imagination.
No. But absolutely no sympathy whatsoever.
Woo, he is the dickhead. So in talking about Fury, Grandpa Fury, as we affectionately call him, he was going through a thing, and he had been going through a thing, like even before we got to this book. But at the open, we have him there with Cormia, and he's kind of just letting her wilt. She's been there for 5 months at this point, and I felt so bad for her, because it just felt like neglect. Like she was in there building the pea castles, and you know, not even the females were talking to her. Like, what was that about? Like, why was she so tortured? I don't get it.
You know, I'm wondering if that nobody really talked to her, you know, until like, you know, sort of like almost forced upon people to do. I mean, not that, I mean, Bella was bedridden, so she couldn't, but it's like, maybe they were, I don't know. It's like they didn't know how to talk to her. They didn't know how to relate to her. You know, she was kind of on this pedestal. And I think maybe the females felt that she was, because she is this perfection of the race, you know, the species. And, you know, it's like that's what she's considered, and maybe perhaps following Fury's lead in that too, because that's kind of how the males are with their females, is that, you know, they you know, this comes out in another book. This actually comes out was that, you know, the other males respect this. Not that he was bonded to her, but it was like, they respect this and they follow the lead of the male in that relationship. And she's ignoring him, he's ignoring her, so they will, you know.
So I'll accept that for the other brothers, right? So the brothers will follow Fury's lead. Fury's like, she's mine, she's his. They did that with Vicious, with Jane, you know, when it came with Jane. They respect whatever the lead of the whatever. But I don't that's not an acceptable excuse to me with the other females in the house, because Beth is one strong ass chick. She don't follow nobody's lead. They're in her house. She's in her house. I'm surprised that she didn't go, hey honey, let's have some tea. You know, maybe
they tried.
A cocktail?
Who knows? I don't know. Maybe she was so in on herself that they just, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I agree. It's
kind of weird, because even when Marissa showed up,
right? She sat in the room with her, you know, and she brought her clothes, right? And gave her like advice, like men advice, like sex advice. Like she gave her all of this advice, and then they just totally ignored this girl, and it just felt really out of character for the women in this household. I think that's
and I don't know if it was that they thought she was too different, like AJ said, but it feels a little weird. She was just in there for 5 months, just out there, like, I don't know, you know. And then, you know, I feel like too, Fury could have obviously taken the lead and changed all of that. So if they were acting on his lead, you know, he could have obviously changed the course of that before 5 months. But what happened? Did he talk himself out of, like, was it his low self-esteem that he was dealing with? You know, he was dealing with the wizard and all of this stuff. Was it his low self-esteem that he just felt like he wasn't good enough for her? What was the underlying reason? Because there's a lot happening there.
I think fear too, you know, and I think that he knew that there was some sort of, I mean, because there's evidence that he, in the last book, he was bonding to her, you know, so it's like, because he thought of her as like mine, you know, he said that, you know, when he first, you know, during, he anyway, it came out in the last book, so.
It came out.
It's like, I don't know. It's like he just ignored her. So it was like, she hadn't even gone outside in 5 months.
Yeah, that's what made me so mad.
John.
Like, it took him 5 months. It took him 5 months to be like, hey, do you want some company? let me ask this young boy to come hang out with you. You know, after you know what I mean? Like, because that's what he sees John, right? He sees John as a child because that's what he is compared to the rest of them. So he, you know, he's like, oh, let me bring you a little friend to play with. Right. Like, right? So I'm like, I just gotta itch my head on that one. It just didn't make any sense to me.
I don't know if he saw John had been through the transition. I don't know if he saw him as like a little boy anymore. I think he was just grasping at straws, and I don't think he thought that. So let's go there for a second. John started bringing Cormia gifts, you know, for her birthday. Fury forgot her birthday. He didn't even know it was her birthday. And then there were a few scenes where you could tell he was obviously feeling like John was pushing up on his woman. And, you know, so I just wonder if he was, I think one of you guys asked, was he subconsciously trying to get John to, like, dig on her a little bit?
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I don't think John was. I think he found her attractive, but he wasn't attracted to her, if that makes any sense. Like, she was attractive, but not, like, plus he's not going to, like, mac on Fury's chick, you know, like, he would never, like, he would consider that rude. He wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I think he would, but, you know, I don't think he would have pushed it out of his mind if Fury was like, if he had actually gone through and taken another maid, which we'll get to in a moment. But I don't think, you know, she wouldn't have been alone for long. I just don't get the rationale behind it.
She wouldn't have been alone for long at all, because Quinn would have mapped on that. Because John would have hesitated. But Quinn would have was like, hey, baby girl, where you been at?
Well, she knew he liked her. She knew Quinn. Yeah. Quinn liked everybody, but she knew Quinn wanted her. Mm-hmm. And I think...
Yeah, they all saw her naked.
Yeah.
So when this is a lot in this book, y'all. Bear with us, because we're going to jump around in this. When she took her robe off at the pool, she knew what modesty was.
She knew what she was doing.
Oh, she knew exactly what she was doing. She's like, I'm just gonna do what I gotta do to make me feel good because my mate don't want me.
My mate don't want me, and he told me he's picking another mate. Yeah. Like, that was so cray to me. I don't know, Fury. He was so all over the place. Since we brought it up, let's talk about the other mate. Why do y'all think he did that? Like, what was the I still don't understand it. Like, what was he gonna do?
I feel like he because he said, and maybe it was just because he was lying to himself, but he was just like, she doesn't want this. But it also plays into the whole point of him always, like, trying to tell somebody how they feel instead of, like, listening to them, you know, listening to how, and recognizing how her body was reacting to his.
Right.
At first, yes, she was doing it out of duty and she didn't really want to do it, but she made it very clear to him quite early, you know, that wasn't the case. She wasn't afraid of him anymore. She wasn't afraid of that. She liked him. And it goes back to, like, when of course this is in the prior book, but it was like he kicks her out of his bedroom, like, you know, 5 months, you know, before the start of this book. And, you know, because he had this wet dream and he was like, you know, like humping on her or whatever. Right. But you know what I mean? But she was not pushing him away. She was like, in that moment with him. And then,
he can smell it.
I mean, it's not, what is he
saying?
Yeah.
You know,
he can smell her desire. Like that's the whole thing. Like, they can smell their mate's desire and they know their scent. And he already knew that she smelled, what was she, jasmine and lilacs or something?
Jasmine.
So, you know, he knows what that scent means. So I just don't understand, like, why he reacted totally different than any other bonded male in the series. And I feel like his hero complex fucked him up so much that he couldn't even behave like a bonded male. Like, and that just...
He wanted to save her.
Yeah.
She didn't mean
but, you know, but even after she admitted that she was, you know, or he admitted that she does want him, he was like, then using it, well, she wants me, but she doesn't want to share me. And I can't do that to her. And
Yeah.
I make a promise to be the Pramali. So he
I'm
kept
such a fucking
wavering,
martyr.
right? So it was
No.
like, so let me go with Layla, because Layla is okay with it. She's ready to do me and let me do all her sisters. Like, she's good. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And Layla always feels bad. Like, he felt bad for her for, like, because I remember there was a scene where she's like, you're just not going to pick me anyway. I know you're not. So he, like, purposely picked her because she thought that he wasn't going to pick her, right?
Yeah, because he wanted to hurt her feelings or whatever. He
didn't want to hurt her feelings. He wanted to be the hero again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like, it goes like when Zeta and Fury had that fight, it's the same kind of thing where, you know, it's like, get off the cross, you know, somebody needs to wood. And
that line
is the best.
Oh, it's the best line. It was the most appropriate line.
It should be like, it should be hashtagged on this.
It should be like, trying to get off that cross.
Get off the cross.
So ridiculous. I don't know. I think he was so caught up.
I think we found the title for our segment.
Yep, get off the cross. It will be.
Get the fuck off the cross. Put the F word in there too.
So, fuck off the cross.
Right? You fucking idiot.
Oh, man.
I think at that moment I loved Z more than I'd ever loved him. And we had been like going through this for a while in the book, and we were like, Jesus, like, stop crying. Stop it. So it was the best scene ever. Maybe we'll do a little poll on the best statements ever. But we were talking about how forward Cormia was with the way she felt. She was a little bit different than any other chosen that we've met so far, right? Because she had her own individual thought process. She definitely, you know, she was fondling statues, and she was kind of like, I'm building these speed castles. And, you know, when she got outside, she was like, and John gave her permission to run. Like, it was the best thing in the world. And I think that was the first time that she could freely laugh. So let's spend some time on her personality. Where did she get that personality from? Because up until that moment, the chosen were like, oh, I'm here to fucking feed. Like, that's my whole job. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it well. So where did that come from?
I think it's just that it's not that. It's just that they were trained to not, so they can have their own thoughts. And even Cormia is like, I think other chosen, not all of them, she was like recognizing it wouldn't be all of them, but that some of the chosen probably have the similar thought process, but they're trained not to voice it because it's
almost in the line of the Glimera, right?
And it's not for the greater good of the collective because they're considered a unit, not individuals. And so they're not allowed to have any individual, or at least show any individual. Doesn't mean they don't have it. So I don't know. I think it's just she's just born that way. You know, I mean, I think, you know, even later, you know, we see more of Layla, you know, she has her own, you know, thought processes, and, you know, she doesn't care so much about the individuality. She just wanted to be loved. But you know, it's like. So.
Yeah, I think.
But that goes to her wants and desires, right? They
True,
each have their own wants and desires, and it's an individual thing and not a collective thing that they were trained to have. Yeah.
Yeah, but even. You know, we mentioned how Layla is a little later on. We're going to get into her story pretty soon. But even her underlying desire is to be a shaman. Like, you know, like even, you know, like Cormia, like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to do some shit, though. I want to, like, let me see these colors and let's see what's going on in the outside world. And I want to talk to him about his hopes and desires. And, you know, we saw that about her, and that is just so wildly different than the chosen.
Yeah, I love how, like, she goes from the beginning of being very formal and the way she talks, and then realizing
to stripping at the pool,
and then even at the end, she was on the other side and not being as formal, and they kind of like, what are you talking about? Like the chosen looking at her, like, you know, like, what are you
like, what you doing? What you been doing? I mean, it's got to be something, right?
So it's interesting.
I think she's my favorite chosen, though. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the record right now. Cormia is my favorite chosen. I felt so bad for her. So, did we talk about him choosing another mate already?
Yeah, I think we sort of did. Like, why the hell did you do
Trying
that? And pushed her aside, and it's like because she wanted to. Like, he's like, well, she doesn't really want this, so
to.
I'm gonna save her. Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't miss that because I think we were all collectively pissed about
We
that.
wanted to slap the grandpa across.
Yeah, he needed to be slapped a few times. So let's spend a little time talking about how, all the times Fury needed his ass whooped. So when he was fighting the Lessers, we started seeing this in the last book, and then we see it in this book. He was beginning to enjoy pain, and you know, that was one of the things that Zadis needed. We know that. And we talked a little bit last time about how, you know, how Fury was responsible to do this to Zadis, and, you know, he was becoming so much like his brother in a lot of different ways. But was he kind of getting off on the pain this time, or was it just to dull the things that he was feeling?
Yeah, I think he didn't want to feel things, and you know, I also think that they kind of were both had the same. They were both like prisoners of their own self, except like it was a different type of thing. Like He's was more internal, where external, I should say. You know, the things that happened to him and what created his anger was these external things. And what created the anger and this bullshit for Fury was his internalization of the things that went on. So,
yeah. I get that. How about you, Sage? What you think about that?
With Fury, there was two parts of the pain part, right? So there was the pain part where he liked to inflict pain onto the Lessers, which didn't start happening until this book, right? Or was it towards the end of last book?
It was the end of last book when he started.
End of last book and the beginning of this book. But it was when Zadis was starting to heal, right? So I kind of feel like even though he didn't want to hurt his brother, he almost needed to hurt his brother just as much as his brother needed to be hurt. Yeah. I think in that process for him, so, like, because I was trying to understand why he went from, you know, just going and just, you know, stabbing them back to the Omega and being done with, to being the brother that they're all afraid of, because he's going to slice and dice them and, you know, have his fun. Like, why, what changed? And the only thing I can really think of that changed that aspect would have been that Zadis doesn't need to be beaten anymore. And so that outlet for him almost developed after he didn't have to do that for his brother anymore. As sick and twisted as that sounds, I kind of feel like that's why that part developed. Now, the numbing and the pain, I do agree. I do agree that he was so overwhelmed with the pain. The red smoke wasn't working anymore. He was, he was debating on moving to something harder. Then he felt pain. And pain dulled the ache, right? So, like, that took priority, so the other stuff didn't hurt anymore. And I get that. I do see that, too. I see that.
Yeah. I mean, we have to think about the codependent type relationship. So a lot of times when people have that snatched away from them, you know, like, and you see that in real life too, where people might have been in a relationship where they were dependent on each other. And then the one person who kind of breaks that cycle, the other one spirals out of control because they don't have that kind of abusive thing that they had that made them feel like the world was okay. He very much went through that, even to the point where he got kicked out of the Brotherhood. And I don't know how I felt about that. Like, when Raph said no more, and Z was kind of like, I can't watch you die no more. You're going to have to go on the other side. And I don't think you're going to do it. I don't think you're going to get clean, but I can't watch you die. What were you guys thinking with, because I had never heard Z, like, give up. And it broke my heart. Like, that was one of the times where I was like, damn, Fury, do better, babe. You know, so what did you guys think?
I don't know. I don't know if his action, like, I understood where they were coming from. Like, he was hurting himself and they needed him to hit rock bottom, I guess, before he can heal, you know, like the whole addict thing. But I I kind of almost was like, really, you're just gonna give up on him that quickly? You're not gonna make him like talk to Mary? You're not gonna make him like you're not.
Yeah.
You're just gonna give up and cut him out, like, you know, after
Was it
all
quick
these years.
though?
Yeah, like you're
Like,
not gonna do. I feel like it was a little overreacting to kick him out. It was, and I mean, we're talking about Grandpa Fury, and you know, he's not my favorite brother, but at the same time, I just feel like they overreacted with him.
So I think maybe Z was like, well, shit, you was about to give up on me, bro. Like,
No,
you
but
know, like,
he was not a drug addict. You know,
Z
you're talking
was
about
doing some weird things.
I know he was, but
And they didn't know what Z was capable of at the time.
They thought he was murdering hookers.
They thought he was murdering hookers.
did they really think that?
Yeah.
I mean, I know.
Oh, yeah.
They did.
said it.
They
Like,
did.
"You're killing these hoes."
They did.
I mean,
Yeah,
So
we
we had a
I
whole
feel like-
conversation.
he
We had
wasn't.
a whole conversation saying, why didn't they realize he wasn't doing that? They were
Yeah.
dead set saying he was doing these things.
they
And then do
thought
you
he
not
was
remember the
fearful.
scene where Fury thought that he was about to take advantage of Bella? And the, you know, like,
Yeah,
Like
but,
he was raping her. Like he was going to
Yeah.
rape her.
but I still at the same time I think that, you know, Fury, it was different with Fury. Fury was a drug addict. You know, that
I don't think drugs are worse than
murder
murder
and rape.
and rape.
That's what they thought.
So I mean, I don't know. I feel like on that vein, they had been through a lot together. And I feel like Z was like, well, we've been through so much together and you're not going to stop. And Fury wasn't. He had no indication that he was stopping. Like he was dead ass high, like trying to, he was fucked, So I don't know. I felt bad for Fury, but I don't blame Z. Because a little bit because I love Z, but I don't blame him. I don't know, y'all. Anyway, any last thoughts before we leave?
Moving on.
We all good with that? All right.
Yeah.
So let's go to Cormia for a minute because she is the other side of this coin. She is willing to let Fury go for the good of the species. I think she should have said, I want him though, but I want you. Because she had already exhibited all of these differences, right? She was rubbing on the statue. She was like, knowing that she wanted to be free. She had already run outside. She'd been naked at the pool, but she was willing to let him go. Should she have fought for him, or should she have just been comfortable, like letting him go and going to be sequestered?
I didn't really like that she wanted to do that because I felt like she was giving up on herself.
Yeah.
She, I have no place. Well, you could have talked to the king. You could have said, hey, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, she wasn't brave enough to just kind of completely break out. So instead, she wanted to run and hide.
Right. Or was that the only option she felt like she had? Because, I
think that she thought that, but I think it's just because she just didn't want to deal. She just, he doesn't want me, and I don't want to be around the rest of the Chosen because I don't deserve to be there now because I failed and this and that. And now
I don't think that's why she became sequestered, though. I don't think she felt that she failed. I think she realized that she was like, I can't watch him sleeping with my sisters. Right. I can't watch him father their children. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock my ass up in this room. And she felt like I had nowhere else to go because she really didn't. I mean, where was she going to go? Right. She was like, the thing about her personality, it is strong-willed, right? And she's kind of prideful, right? She's not going to go and say, just like she didn't go and try to make friends with anybody on her own. She didn't feel comfortable or welcomed enough to say, hey, can I stay here even if I get kicked out? Right. So she kind of felt like she had no choice, and she did that so she didn't have to see him. I think it's kind of, part of her finding her own within the world that she's like stuck in.
Yeah,
You know?
but at the same time, you're not going to find out who you are if you're just going to run and hide. So
Yeah, I don't know if she
I
knew
agree.
she had that opportunity either. I just feel like she was kind of lost out there, and Fury didn't make it easy for her. Like, he kept starting with the sex thing, and I really wanted her. Now, that would piss me off, because how many times did he stop? Let's figure it out. Like, the first time.
Too many times. The first time was in his bed the first night, right?
Right. You rolled around me.
The second time was in the blood.
I stroked you. You know I want you, and you still like, oh my God, I don't want to take it. Like, what the fuck? And then the second time was
the feeding
her after the shower.
Yeah, the feeding in the shower.
He asked her to stay. He said, "Stay with me."
Mm-hmm. Then it was in the movie room with the dirty dancing thing. Then it was in the towards office. Or wherever that was underground.
I think it was the PT suite because he was like showing her around.
It was the PT suite. It was the PT suite.
Whatever
it was underground.
Like, literally,
so that's already four that I can remember off the top of my head.
That was the closest thing he got, though. He was like tip in.
Oh, and the time with John and Quinn and them.
No, that was the time he actually did it, and he took her virginity.
Yes.
After the pool, he told her, "Get your ass in the house. It's on and popping. I can't take this shit no more." She took her robe off, and he was like, "What the fuck you doing? I'm finna mark you up." Which I was all for. I was like, mark her up, because she been waiting for this for a long time after she been through all this shit with you. And then, what the fuck? What was he thinking? She did not, like, she was upset because he was so in his head, but he didn't even stop and ask her. Like, he didn't even stop and ask her, like, what's wrong with you, Fury? Like, how did y'all feel when he just, like, gave up like that and walked away? If she pushing him away, obviously you did something goofy, and she's a virgin. You need to talk to her and figure out what happened and help her understand that.
But he was too, technically. So he didn't know. He thought he hurt her. He didn't even realize it was her virgin blood. You know what I mean? So like nobody sat these two down and was like, "Dude, this is what's going." Well, no,
John knew that was her virgin blood. Fury knew that was her virgin blood because John ain't had sex with nobody.
No, John thought that John didn't realize it was her virgin blood. John thought she was raped.
He knew that he knew why the blood was there.
Yeah, that they had sex. Yeah. But
I don't think he realized
hurt her.
I don't think. I'm not giving Fury. You're not gonna tell me that Fury is the same age as Zetas and he's never heard of virgin blood. You're not gonna tell me he in the Glenmera and they never told him about the sheet shit where the woman got to have the sheet shit.
I'm sure he's supposed to know, but I don't think he made the connection. He thought
I don't think that he had an issue with the blood. I don't think
me either. I think he was just stupid. I think he was high still. No, was he high? He was high.
He thought he was too rough with her. He thought because he flipped her, right? He took her virginity from the behind. So he felt that he was too rough. He was too rough with her.
I get that, but I get that. But what I don't understand is why he didn't say, "Oh, boo, like what?" I feel like he should have asked. I'm not giving him that pass. Y'all want to be giving him a pass.
No, I'm not telling you. I'm not giving him the pass at all. I'm saying he's just an idiot. Like he
is. Okay, we agree. Stupid ass Fury. You should have stayed in there.
I know. Why wouldn't he just be like, "Hey, what's wrong?" You know, why? What?
Because he automatically assumed he did it wrong.
He just withdrew and left. You know,
so
put his clothes on from the bathroom and left. Like he had the wherewithal to go into the motherfucking bathroom, get dressed before he fucking left, and just leaves her on the goddamn bed without being like,
leave her on the bed with her knees in her chest, like she was like crying, the poor girl. And I'm like, Fury, what the fuck? But I bet if it was Bella, he would have been over there on his hands and knees, like, what can I do? How can I fix it? What's going on? Like, what did I do? Like, I I was so angry with him. And when John came in there and whooped his ass, even though I knew it was a misunderstanding, I cheered. I was thrilled. I don't know. I was like, get his ass, because he's fucked up. How did y'all feel about the fight, the 2-piece and a biscuit that John served up on Fury?
I know John did it. It wasn't about a Cormier. It was about his home past, and he just wanted to protect.
I think that's what he did. He internalized it.
I think it was his own past. I also think that he liked Cormier,
of course,
as a person, and I also think that John already a trigger.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about how he been going through, and that was the first time that he let his anger get to the point where he actually hit someone, right? So I felt fine with him whooping his ass, and I was glad that Fury got it, and I think I needed that as much as John did. I've been wanting to whoop Fury's ass the whole book. I'm like, sir, get your shit together. Oh my God. I guess I love him so much. I want him to do better. He's like a brother. Mm-hmm. Is Fury hot or not to you guys? I don't want to screw him.
You know, like I think that I think he's hot. I think that I don't like his angst, and that's a turn off for me. But I think that he's like perfection as a male, but he just, he's big, he's broad-chested, he's, all these things. He's got nice hair, because, we like a man with some nice hair.
Yeah, I think he's cute, but I just don't want it. What you think, Faye?
Well, I agree, right? So I think he's
the drugs, the angst, the trying to tell people.
I don't have a problem with him smoking red smoke. Yeah. Okay. So I don't have a problem with the red smoke, long as he doesn't have the wizard playing in his head, right? I'm okay with that. You can smoke your red smoke. I'm good with that. That is not my turn off. My turn off is I think he looks attractive, right? Like there's absolutely no way he's that hot.
No
he's
doubt.
Gorgeous. He's got hair, the yellow eyes. I mean,
he's dressed visually. Don't forget.
Yes, and he is exactly. He dresses nice.
He dresses very nice.
Like he's so look wise, he's gorgeous.
Together.
I never found him attractive. There was one instance I was like, oh yeah, hi Fury, when he was like, oh you want to take from me, get on take my vein, get on my knee. I typed it in that note. It should be in front of you. I can't remember what it is, but there were like three sentences, like it was like 3 statements that were like
that he had it
right there, like 3. It literally was 3 statements, and then it was gone. Like,
I think it has moments. It's moments when I'm like, oh, Fury could get it, but I just don't want to wholly do it. I don't like for me and Rev. There's never going to be a moment when I look at Rev and I'm like, I don't want to do you right now. There's never going to be that moment ever. And for Fury, there's never going to be that moment when I'm like, take me now, consistently. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, literally, it's like very seldom little moments with Fury.
Poor Fury. He's dying as hell. He's sitting up on a shelf with all of us. Oh my goodness. I can't even believe that. Usually one of us is like, nope, I do that all day. All right. So we talked about John whooping Fury's ass, but there was a moment with him and Lash in the shower back at the beginning. And he kind of like, this was one of the most heartbreaking scenes for me. Was when he kind of like John froze in the shower when Lash was on him. What a fucking bastard. So what do you guys think about that? Let's talk about that scene. I know it was terrible, but let's just talk. Let's just get the emotions out because we feel it away.
Should I go first?
Yeah, that's fine.
So that scene was absolutely horrible because you're watching, not only are you watching a reenactment of a rape scene, but you're the mockery of it and the mockery of someone's feelings and the violation. The whole thing was just horrid. And it was so horrible. And then to see John go back, like you see this 6'8", he's 6'7", 6'7", 6'8", you know,
6'8".
strong warrior body,
big gorgeous man. Mm-hmm.
freeze and fall into a ball and vomit. I mean, all those things, like, it was really hard to read. Like, it was really sad. And I don't know how far we're supposed to go with this answer, but I was really happy what happened to Lash at that point. I cheered when.
No, it's time to talk about. I mean, like, I think we needed that closure. Like, I think we needed Quinn to murder Lash at that moment, because Lash, I feel like he would have went through with it. I do. I definitely feel like he was going to violate John. What do you think, AJ?
Yeah, and I had some thought that just escaped my head, but
it's okay.
Anyway,
We want to cry right now.
I like the fact that even though John was feeling this way about everything, he did still try to do, like, he held, like, whipped his shirt off or whatever and put it to Lash's throat. So he he was still trying, like, to kill him, because he noticed in that moment how scared Lash was. And he recognized, he had enough empathy to still recognize that, because he was scared. He looked over at John and was like, holy fuck, And I thought that, even though, like, John,
but it showed John's humanity, right?
Yeah.
When you're saying that, I just see his humanity, where this man has been embarrassing him, bullying him. He just for a long time, right? And then he knows the biggest secret that John has that can tarnish him, and he's sitting there. He almost violated himself, right? And then he still tried to save him. That just shows how strong and how humble and what a good guy John really is.
Right.
Yeah. I think John went through a lot. Like, John, we get to see all his torture, and a lot of times for these characters we're seeing backstory, but for John is different, because we've seen everything that he's been through from all the way to the beginning. And the only other characters that we kind of get that a little bit with is Quinn and Blay. But not even as much as John, because at this point we know, like, from John's conception all the way up to his transition, which is a good long time for us for a character. And I think it's good for us to see him overcoming these things individually, because he could have totally, because of how horribly he was raised, he could have totally been a bastard and like, fuck Lash, I'm not giving him, like, I wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. And I think that humanity is what makes us love John so much. And I'm about to cry. I'm not gonna cry, but I just love him. I really do. And I think I love him more now that I'm on this, like, full-on reread. I don't know.
And I think that, I mean, he had moments where, he kind of was, feeling like, his feelings kind of wavered a little bit. He's like, yeah, well, I guess he had to die because that secret would have gotten out. But then he was like, oh, well.
Yeah, that's human. I mean, that's normal, right?
So he kind of wavered on it a little bit. But, I mean, he still, at least when it came to it, and actually bleeding out, he was trying to stop him from dying.
Yeah. Let's spend a little bit of time on John, Quinn, and Blade's relationship. First, they're so adorable together. I just love seeing them together. But I also know that we saw the development of feelings in the last couple of books between Blade and Quinn. How do we feel about Blade and Quinn treating Blade so poorly? Everybody has, like, strong feelings about Quinn, but how do you feel about him, the way he reacted to him when he was getting ready to leave?
Well, I mean, that whole kind of, like, storyline is kind of like several scenes long, really, when you think about that whole thing with how their relationship is, like, he's like, oh, he didn't want him to like, I don't want you to ruin your life thinking about me, so I was going to push him away. And I love how Blade was like, later when they wind up talking about it, he was just like, "You're an arrogant bastard," you know, and it's like, you're just arrogant. Why do you, you know? It's like, I wouldn't ruin my life, you know. It's like, yeah, I would be bad, I would be all these things, but you know, but I did like, you know, that when, you know, Quinn gets a, you know, the honor guard jumps him, and you know, he's on the side of the road, and he's in limbo, basically almost like ready to die, and you know, Blaze saves his life. It was the sweetest thing, and they were holding each other's, you know, and Quinn took his hand because they were both so scared, you know, and you know how it shows just the love that they have for each other, even though Quinn is being an ass, you know, and then you know, the apology, you know, and the when he's helping him, you know, when he's after, you know, the raids, and he's, you know, getting you know, he's treating Blaze wounds, and you know, he's just like, you were right, you know,
the kissing, yeah, that was so beautiful.
And Blaze was really strong in that scene, I thought, at the end, where he's just like joking with him at the end, even though it was really breaking his heart, and it just like showed a lot of his strength there.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, what'd you think, Sage?
So in the beginning, where in the part where, you know, Quinn is really horrible to Blade, I was upset, but I understood why. I understood why he didn't want him, because he didn't know what his future was, right? He didn't know if he was going to go to the Penal Colony. What is that? The Penal Colony. Penal Colony, or
I really believe it's Penal, not Penal.
It's penal.
I don't know what penal, penis. I don't know. It's a colony.
Northern Canada, so which I was okay. So anyway, what?
Is it in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. Go ahead. Right here, We're done interrupting.
So, anyways, you know, when he was worried about. He was worried about what would happen to him if, you know, like he didn't want him to be involved in that part, because he didn't know if he was going to be banished, if he was going to be killed. There were so many things that could happen to him, and he didn't want, knowing how Blade felt about him and how he felt about Blade, because he's in denial, I think, of his feelings, because not really quite in denial, because he does express them later, but he didn't, because of his feelings for Blade and Blade's feelings for him, he didn't want him to witness what was possibly going to happen. So I get why he did that. But, and then that scene with I loved Blade's, you know, strength. He was like, no, you want me. Like, I can tell you like me, so don't pretend you don't. Like, I feel it.
Yeah.
You know, don't deny what's there. And don't undermine it, right? Don't undermine my feelings or your own. And I like that about him, and that kiss was beautiful. I really can't wait to see what else is going to happen, like, and how it unfolds again.
I can't wait. Boy, it gets rocky. We're not going down that path, because that is a book on its own, and we won't jump ahead to that. But I think you know, I think Blade was extremely brave in that moment. I think that was so awesome when he just let it out, like, you know, you want me. But I also think it was really great on Quinn's part, because he kind of just told him, you know, it's not that I don't want to be with you. It's not that I don't want to be with a male. It's that I don't deserve you, you know. And I think at that moment that made up for all that pain I felt for Blade in the beginning, you know, when he first like broke his heart. So I don't know. I can't wait to see more of these guys. They were just so good together, and I do love their relationship so much. It's so awesome. So on that day, when we talked about for a moment Quinn being jumped by the honor guard, his brother Lucas jumping him, I wanted to murk his ass. Like, what in the world? How dare you? We talked about this last time, that the siblings seem to not really give a shit about each other, and that's kind of out of the ordinary. But how did you guys? I felt so betrayed for Quinn right in that moment. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I like that Lucas was like, "Don't kill him. We're not supposed to be killing him." You know?
Yeah.
I mean, he did do that. I don't know. I actually feel sorry for Lucas, because I feel like he's in a worse position than Quinn has ever been in, because Quinn can just like, he can, he was able to do whatever the fuck he wanted, where Lucas he had to conform, because it was just the way of it,
Yeah.
But is it? You think it's worse that way? I mean, to have to be conformed, or to actually feel that your family cares about you, right? I mean, it's different to feel because he was completely ostracized.
Huh? This is my boy. This is my girl. And aren't they perfect? And you can't eat too much, like, because they would get on his sister and his mom about, eating too much and, and that kind of thing. And then you also have the scene, and we're just talking about glamour in general, where, Bella's a little girl and her dad would not let her eat 2 bowls of cereal, because you're going to be fat, and it was this thinking, and it is so ingrained that even if they had their own thought about it, they would be scared to do anything about it, because then they would be kicked out of the house, then they would not have an allowance, then there's so many things that they could hold over their head to.
Yeah, but I mean, I get that, but I think I still think Quinn had it worse, only because it's one thing to feel like you have to be perfect. But it's another thing to feel like you aren't loved. And I think that Quinn felt it all the time. Like, Lash was fucking with him. He felt, now he done murdered somebody. And then, like, he had like a terrible, terrible time with this thing. And even when he transitioned, his father didn't give a fuck. Like I think Quinn kept waiting for somebody to be like, I love you.
Yeah. And
it was so foreign to him that when Blake was trying to say that to him, he couldn't receive it. So I don't think Lucas had it worse, because he had people telling him he was a shit and his parents were shits. But it wasn't that he didn't feel love. Like, to not feel love is one of the most horrible things, I think. So I don't know. I don't feel any way about Lucas or the little sister or the parents or anything. And I was perfectly fine with the raids taking them from us. Except for Lucas, who's missing. Okay. That's it. I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. I'm sorry. I just think they were so shitty.
They were. I totally agree. And I feel like I'm with you on that. And that's why I said that. I feel like, Quinn just had it bad. Like, they were just horrible to him. So I don't know. They got what was coming.
And it's
I think he was impacted for a long time by the way that they treated him.
Yeah,
and how he.
Yeah, and like in the beginning of the scene where his dad, he's like, his dad doesn't want to. Like, Quinn's like, tell me, say it, say it. Where he's trying to get his dad to tell him that he's not allowed to be at their gala that was at their house.
So shitty. And then he set him off.
Why didn't their whatever their dog's name was? Why didn't she tell you? She was supposed to tell you. Why did they tell you?
Yeah.
And Quinn's like, say it. Just say it. You don't want me here. And he just wouldn't do it.
I feel like they all thought he was gonna curse them or something, because they were with them.
Yeah.
All the and they were like, oh my God,
yeah.
He might curse us, so we're not gonna say it, but we hate you.
Well, I mean, they showed it to him, right? So he transitioned. He didn't get the ring. He didn't get any of the things. Like, those are little things that that are your inherent. Like, you inherit that, right? That's and when you're not, like, they're not even acknowledging him as a child anymore. That, I mean, like, it's beyond being disowned. You're like, you just. Disowned. They're like, oh, we have a kid we don't talk to. This is like, you are not my child anymore. Right. We are no longer related.
Yeah. The paperwork was horrible. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like it's an X on your name. That was the worst.
Yeah, I mean, like, legit an X.
I know. I just couldn't. I don't know. But I was glad that he had John and Blade there to be by his side, even at his most horrible time, because they became a family. So that was really, really good. So I'm excited about that. But let's talk about the man of the hour, that the person that I've been waiting to talk about all night. And I just got through all these things. My boo, Rev. All right. Let's talk about that Scorpion princess. Oh my God. Is she not the worst bitch you've ever seen in your life? Like, what in the hell? Like, this is our first intro into a little bit of what Rev been going through and why he might need the dopamine and all the things to get rid of, these horrible things that he has to do once a month with this horrible bitch. So she has won. She crazier than a bag of hammers. Tell me what you thought about her when you first met her.
He's like a bag of dicks.
So a crazy bitch.
She is.
I thought the scorpions were attached. She's just wearing them for decoration. Like, that bitch is insane.
He's got these scorpion fucking earrings. And of course, at first, Red, when he's looking at him, he's like, oh wait, they're actually alive.
They're moving.
And she's got these long, extra joint in her fingers. The nails grow out
red. Her eyes are red. Like, nothing good.
Red. She got this blue-black hair, red eyes, a body of a 12-year-old boy. I mean, it just androgynous except for the slit, like even says, she's small tits, like A cups you're talking. And she's got, and the only way you can tell that she's a female is because of the freaking slit, because the male sympaths all wear their hair long and up like women do, like females do, and
so interesting,
just disgusting. And I mean, and she and bathes in scorpion venom just to fuck with Rev. I mean, what the actual fuck?
I know. I was reading.
She's just really twisted.
I remember the first time I read it, I was fucked, and then this time I read it, and I was like, no, actually, I've read Rev's book several times. Like, most of the time when I go back to do a reread, I start with Rev, and but it's like all roads lead to Rev. But I didn't remember her being this fucked up. Like, I'm always jarred by her. Sage, what you got? What happened?
Evil. Just I just feel like when you hear this demon, like when you picture demons, underworld, that's what she feels to me. The way they describe her with the blue black hair and the pale skin and the red eyes,
oh my God.
Yeah, almost demonish, but
I know.
When you look at them, they're almost attractive, but not really attractive. That's how he describes her, where she's almost attractive, but really not attractive. And it's just creepy as hell.
I feel so bad for him. That was the first time too that we saw him, at the great camp, recuperating, and how much it takes out of him with the scorpion venom and all of those things. I felt terrible for him, and I still feel terrible for him. And thank God his book is next, because we can kind of see a little bit of relief from my man. I don't want him to go through this anymore. God, my poor baby. Get him, save him. So while he was at the great camp, though, we meet a all-time fan favorite, Lassiter, the fallen angel.
Yay, Lassiter.
He's a dude. He's a dude.
Yeah. Is Eliza frozen, or is it just on my screen?
She's frozen.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. She'll have to dial back in.
I hope so, because she's in the process of asking the question.
I know. Well,
so we were talking about the Lassiter, right? So I love him. And I'm so happy to get little bits of pieces of him right now. It looks like
Hi, I'm sorry. My internet went out.
You're sideways.
I know. My internet went out. It's a storm in my neighborhood. So hopefully you can so that's better. It's a storm in my neighborhood, so the wind is blowing. We got a little bit of Crispo or whatever, the tropical storm. So it made it all the way up here to
Festival,
Michigan.
yeah.
Super windy. You see my hair going because the doors are open. So sorry about that. So Lassiter, go. I'm sorry.
We were just talking about how excited we were that he was back. We get to start seeing him because we loved him so much in the other books. But you can go ahead and start asking your question. You were in the process of asking that first question.
That was the question. What we think of Lassiter?
Oh, we adore Lassiter.
Yeah. I think I love him too. I think I loved him in that moment with his disco ball. Oh, so cute. He's just adorable. I love him. Why do you guys think V hates him?
You know,
Because he did the play.
but I want to know like, that actual. I'd like to hear that story. I'd love to see like a scene about like what happened there and you know what the deal was. But you know, I like Lassiter, and one of the things that, and I'm going to talk about Rev again because so he goes to Revenge because he needs to find out where the Brotherhood is so he can take Tor back because he's
Right.
tasked by God to find Tor and help him. You know, for whatever reason, I don't know why this would happen, or maybe it was a favor for the Sky Virgin. Who knows? But you know, he says something where you know he's having a conversation with Revenge and you know, kind of saying he's a good guy and all this stuff, or you know, and righteous, and you know, and Rev's just like, you know, you don't know me, I'm not righteous, and he's like, yeah, you are, because you have, you know, you may not do righteous things all the time, but you have a pure soul, and I just thought that was like, you really got to see like the serious side of him, and that's why I liked him. He's goofy, and the brother's like, just you know. Trash talk him all the time for whatever reason, but I mean, not everybody does, but he, you know, you immediately see that good side of him, or that he really is a good person.
Yeah, I mean, they point out that he's kind of, you know, a wild card too. Like Wrath is like, you know, you had those plagues, you were responding. He's like, that was one time. It was
right.
It wasn't my fault.
Right. I'm really looking forward to like getting his book because I hope they can like tell like we get some of those stories, right? Like how that one plague happened. You know, like I would love to see that just because he's kind. You can see the goodness in him. But he's also funny and like just a straight up wild card, like you call him.
Maybe he's responsible for COVID.
Maybe he's responsible for COVID. Damn it, Lassiter.
For the love of Lassiter.
I mean, he don't like humans either. I want to see why he fell, first of all. I don't think we get that yet either. So a book, you're absolutely right. A book would be nice. So fingers crossed that we'll get it. I know that we talk about it. We hear about it a lot, but maybe we'll get it like in a couple years. Maybe. Fingers crossed. Let us pray. All right. So I think we're rearing up on our last question of the night. We need to talk about the Scribe Virgin. So the Scribe Virgin is having a lot happen to her. So she's losing her house because, you know, the Chosen are going to be leaving over decades is what Fury promised her. She has no birds, but you know, V is kind of bringing her birds back, and her light is dimming, and her daughter, Pain, hates her apparently, because it's like every time she talks to her, it's like, fuck, what the fuck, who the fuck, what you want, I don't fucking like you. Let's talk about the Scribe Virgin. What do you think is actually happening with her right now?
I think that she's letting go. You know, I think that her light is dimming, not because it's dimming like she's losing it, just that she's in deep thought and realizing that the choices that she's made have, you know, if hindsight's 2020, you know, if she had known better, she would have made different choices. And I feel like in one of the books she indicated that. I feel like that the book before this one, she was kind of saying that, was that, you know, it's like if I could go back and like she wanted to go back and do research on you know the choices that she made if she had known more or been more aware of things, that she would have made different choices. And I thought she indicated that she wanted to research that. She wanted to go back and figure out why she made these choices and what could have been a better choice. You know, I feel like this was in there.
She did. I think I remember her when the birds were gone. She had made the bargain, and I think she was like, "What the fuck? How did I get here?" And I think she was like questioning some of the things that she did. She questioned her relationship with V for sure, but also her relationship with Pain.
Yeah.
That was when we were introduced to Pain, and then we see Pain again this time, and she's kind of like, daughter, she's like, fuck you. Like, you know, like fuck you. So I don't know. I feel like she's losing it. What do you think, Sage?
I think her questioning has to do with something to do with her lighting. I agree with AJ with that, where she's like, you know, kind of like her light is within her. So like when she's dim on the inside, it reflects on the outside, right? So if she doesn't feel powerful, or if she's losing her grip on reality, that, you know, that it's affecting her. What I found interesting was once Fury made the bargain with her and said he's taking the Chosen, you know, with him, everything turned into color. The Chosen were no longer wearing white. The surroundings were no longer white, and I thought that was kind of cool, right? So like, okay, fine, we're not the world as we know it no longer exists, right? And I think that was kind of like the finale. Of
There was definitely and I always have like an outside comparison, so forgive me, but there was a movie where like the movie was shot in black and white. I can't remember. It's a really old movie, and the woman was masturbating in the tub, and the movie went from black and white.
She froze again.
Right in that one scene too. Like, can we get the rest of this scene?
Well, you know,
come back.
Until she goes, I had, you know, we were talking about the color. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting is, I don't know if you caught that, but Cormia was wearing lavender.
I did.
Her dress turned into lavender, and I'm just wondering if now some of the show, because they could go into those rooms with all the jewels, they saw color, so they knew about color, you know. And so I'm wondering if the colors that the other Chosen were wearing were colors that they liked too.
That represented something that they enjoyed and were drawn to. I like that is really cool. Yeah, I really loved seeing. She dropped off. I really loved that one moment with the colors. And that lavender. Yeah, I did catch that, which was really cool.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. It was.
But the color, I mean, that was just like a liberation, you know.
Yeah.
Instead of them having to conform and everything.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know what happened. Sorry, guys.
We're just talking about the color, and just mentioning how Cormia was wearing lavender. You know, that her white getup, whatever, toga, whatever the fuck they wear, turned lavender. And I was just wondering if because the Chosen knew about colors, because they could go into like the treasury and themselves and look at the different color ruby, the different color gems. So they were aware of different colors, what other colors were the other Chosen's outfits, at least ones that had favorite color. There was that color representative of them, and so that was interesting. So, but the color the liberation, instead of everything being the same, she made everything different. So it kind of represented, to me, individuality. That she was recognizing it.
She's allowing them to have it, right? And that was her way of giving it to them, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, symbolic, definitely, for that,
Yeah, it was interesting for sure. I got to remember the name of that movie, and I swear I'll put it in the comments, but she literally was jailing off in the tub, and then it went to color. I swear I didn't make that up. I'm not that creative.
Blossom.
So, I can't even remember. It was like this Smallville or Small Town or something. I got to think of it.
There was a movie. You're talking about that had like Tobey Maguire in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
super old movie.
She was masturbating in the tub?
She masturbated in the tub. They didn't show her like hands there, but her foot like went up, and then she like leaned her head back, and then it was just like color, and the whole town went to color. And she was jilling out, like it was representative of her jilling off in the tub. Got her jill on. All right, so I said this was the last question, and we are almost like right on the hour. But and that's probably because
that's like the first for us right now, isn't it?
That is the first for us. But I got one more thing, and I can't go without talking about it. I think y'all gonna appreciate this. John Matthew and Hex in the bathroom.
I think that she, when she's like, oh, I gotta, she saw John's erection, and then she kind of was like, and then she's like, oh, I gotta go. I think she was faking.
You think she was faking that? I think she had to go. I think she would have stayed. I don't think Hex was gonna like shy away from that thing.
No, she's afraid because she knows that he's a good person because of her sympath sets. So she just doesn't want to hurt anybody. And she knew how she felt about him already at that point.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the thing is with that, she knows that she can't be found out as a sympath. And we know she knows that. But she also boned Butch.
But Butch was
human. Feelings for him.
And he was
wanted
human.
To fuck him. She thought he was cute, whatever. He's kind of interesting and kind of cool for a human, and he's rough and tumble, and I kind of like that, and just my kind of guy. And that,
I don't know.
I think it's different with John. John immediately.
I think she really had to go.
I think so too. I don't think she's the type that will shy away from what she wants.
I think she would have did that because he said some things to her. He said, "And by the way, when you come, say my name." And I would have been done. That's another one. John is another one I don't want to sleep with because I feel like he's a son or something. I don't know, but
I have no children. I don't have any problems with that. Keep it going.
I wouldn't sleep with him, but I'm saying because I watched him grow up. I feel like I watched him grow up, and I feel like I've cried for him. Blah, blah, blah. But anyway, if he would have said that to me, I think I would have forgot that he's a little boy. I would have forgotten because he went in that bathroom. I'm sorry. I think she had to go. I think she would have stayed if she didn't.
So do you think John would have gone all the way, or would he have frozen? Because that makes me wonder, was he talking because he's drinking, or would he had actually gone that extra step?
No, I think that he would have done it because I think that she would have taken the reins too, because that's how she is. And she would have been like, this is where you put it. She would have taken
I don't think
that.
She
had
a problem.
After he wasn't a virgin anymore. She still was like, this is where it's going. And
okay, so you jumping ahead. Rein it in now. We know that's your favorite couple. We already know.
You can tell she gets all glowy every time we talk about them.
She really got John. And I feel you because I think because I went all the way back. And I, it's like when I watch Harry Potter, I only watch a couple of them because I'm like, there's something that's not. They did to me. But the same thing with this series, I really start with revenge and go forward if I'm going to reread. So, it just is what it is. So I get it. You love John, but don't jump ahead yet. We only got a little bit longer. Any last thoughts before we go ahead and close for the day?
I don't know, but this is off topic, but God, did you all catch 365 DNI?
I haven't watched it yet. No, I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it yet.
That is your homework. You haven't watched it?
No.
Whoa! He was so nasty. Oh. Can I just say a couple things, Sage, please? Oh my God, he was so nasty. Okay, well, what was your? Okay, we'll just talk in general.
How about we bring it up next week after I watch it?
Are you gonna watch it? Like, you can't be fucking with us and like, I'm gonna watch it and then we're not gonna talk about it. Cause I've been waiting on Rev for 2 weeks and I feel like I can't be denied 365 DNI. You gonna have to watch that.
Ask your questions. Go ahead.
I'm done. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna hold it in.
No,
I'm gonna hold it
you
in.
gotta ask.
Ooh, that was a dirty movie. I'll watch it again with you for, just for research.
Just for research? To refresh your memory?
Research. Woo! Everybody that is watching us right now, if you have not watched 365 DNI,
Are you
please go to Netflix and watch it because we're going to talk about it next week. It was like watching V on... No, it wasn't like watching V. He wasn't as good as V. But it was definitely 50 Shades of Grey on like 55. Like it was, it was everything I needed in that moment. I didn't even know I wanted it. So, all right. So that's your homework. Watch 365 DNI. And notice, I want y'all to see this. This is how much I love this right now. Okay, so look at this and look at this. Like, I've got this book in my possession. It's marked off. It's dog-eared. I don't do that to my books. This is my man. Next week is Lover Avenged with Rev. Look at us. We good. Thank you guys for stopping by. It was so much fun. We'll see you guys again next week. Bye.
Bye.